Alright, mech warriors, time to finish off a review of the best mechs of the clan invasion era for the Inner Sphere. And we're finishing it off with the big guns. These are long-range support mechs, units that can dish out heavy fire at range 14 or better. There will be a special exception for certain units that bring a lot of PPCs or LB-10X autocannons. And while these units don't focus on durability, they should have enough durability that they won't get blown up by a light mech immediately. Let's get started with some budget options. We have the Cobra 02. This mech is pretty small, a little bit under armored, but makes up for it with great long-range firepower, 2 LRM-15s with 16 shots each, 2 medium lasers back those up at close range, and we've got at least 10 armor on every location, which is not too bad. And the 5/8 movement will help us to stay at that range 14 where we want to be fighting, as well as to get up into a good sniper's perch with cover somewhere. And at 1128 battle value, this is a great little long-range support unit on the cheap. Another nice cheap long-range support unit, the Daboku. 4 AC2s brings some long-range crit seeking, 2 LRM-10s brings the long-range LRM fire, indirect fire support capability. We've got 2 large lasers to support at close range. Not really gonna want to use those. We only have 12 single heat sinks, and the armor's not too good, but under 1300 battle value, you can't really go wrong with the Daboku. It has more than enough heat sinks to fire these long-range weapons all together, and by the time you're using those large lasers, you'll probably will have lost an arm anyways. It is a little bit explosive, but we've got a standard engine and case, so it's not gonna blow up if you hit one of those big ammo bins. In later eras, 4 AC2s with precision ammo is gonna be really good at taking out fast movers as well. So with 15 armor on every location and 20 on the legs, this is a pretty solid overall support mech. With its high tonnage, it even has very large amounts of internal structure that you're going to have to chew through to get rid of the mech completely. Next, one of my favorite energy boats in the game, we have the Crab 27B. This is the Royal Crab, 1308 battle value. This becomes pretty commonplace after the clan invasion era. Great armor overall, 16 on the torsos and the arms will protect those weapons very well. We've got the medium laser in the CT and the small laser in the head. So it is a zombie mech. You can blow off the arms, get rid of those large lasers, but it's still going to keep coming at you, kicking with that 50 tons of weight, blasting you with those close range weapons. With 24 on the legs, its mobility is not going anywhere easily, and we've got 20 on the center torso with that standard engine, so it's not going to die very easily at all. And we've even got 32 heat sinking, so we can fire all of these weapons all day without overheating. The standard Crab 27 is great. The Crab 27B is a straight upgrade. Although at 1300 battle value, it is a bit more expensive than a regular Crab, but that's the price you pay for that lovely long-range firepower. Now, I mentioned some of the Blackjack Omnis before in previous videos in this series, but the Blackjack 2 OA is an incredibly deadly mech. We have 2 LRM-20s with 12 rounds of fire for each. We've got decent armor overall. We got a couple medium lasers to support at close range. 464 movement, going to be able to get up to a nice sniper's perch very easily with those 4 jump jets, and with 20 double heat sinking, you can fire everything pretty much all day long without overheating. XL engine gives a little bit of a durability problem, but we do have 18 armor on those torsos, so not going to go down too quickly. And the ammo is all in the arms, meaning that it is very well crit padded, but with only 14 armor on the arms, you do have to make sure that you're using the ammo in the arm that is getting shot the most. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself running out of ammo rather quickly, because those arms don't last very long. Would you like less LRMs and more laser on your Cobra? That's basically what the Kudo is. Again, 5/8 movement, standard fusion engine, exactly enough heat sinks to fire everything while running without overheating. 12 rounds of fire. We have Artemis on the LRM-20, so while the Cobra has 30 LRMs, this has somewhere in the neighborhood of about 25 or so on average. And on top of that, it has the ER large laser to back that up. So this mech is pretty deadly. It's got good damage, it's got good armor, it's got decent mobility, and it's got a good battle value price. Only 1286 battle value is really solid. The Kudo is definitely one of the best mechs available in the clan invasion era if you're looking for a cheap sniper unit. Again, some variants of the Blackhawk have been covered covered in previous videos, but the Blackhawk OD has an LRM-20 and an ER large laser, no frills, lots of armor, good mobility. 1539 battle value is a little bit expensive, and this technically has a little bit less firepower overall since it doesn't have an Artemis when compared with the Kudo, but 200 points of armor, 585 movement. This is a great skirmisher. If you want to just keep your enemy at range and keep using that range 14 to your advantage and take a lot of punishment while doing it, this is a great mech. However, when you're paying for 200 points of armor, you should probably be using it. So I would actually recommend that you have this mech close in, fight at range 7 with the target that it wants to be shooting, take some damage, and then retreat. Once you've started taking 30-40 damage and your armor plates start getting a little bit thin, then you retreat to that range 14 and you can start laying down fire at long range. The Blackhawk has so many heat sinks that it can afford to take a couple engine crits and still lay down fire with these weapons without any problems. So that is a pretty good feature to have. If you just want to bring lots of LRMs, however, the Salamander might be the mech for you. The 5T brings 3 LRM-15s with plenty of ammo for both. We've got case, so it is recoverable in campaign, although it will be a mission knockout if you get an ammo crit in those torsos, which is unfortunate since that's mostly what's in those torsos. With 20 heat sinking, the mech will run cool until it starts taking those engine crits, at which point it can still fire the 3 LRM-15s if it only has 1 critical. But the main reason why I'd recommend this over some of the other mechs is the armor protection. We have 28 on the legs, 24 on the arms, protecting 2 of those LRM-15s, and 25 on the side torsos. So this mech can take a huge beating and still keep fighting. We've got 5.8 movement on an 80-ton frame, which makes it super tough. Able to generate that TMM. If deadfire ammunition is allowed in your campaign, I would absolutely recommend taking it on this mech. It's pretty much designed for it. Take like 1 ton in each torso and just start laying down that fire at close range once you close with the enemy. Then retreat using that 5.8 movement, find a nice sniper perch, and lay down long-range fire after you have shared some of your armor with the team. Alright, next up let's talk about a quad mech. We've got the Goliath 3M. This mech is awesome. It has that XL engine, which is a little bit of a weakness, and it has single heat sinks. Again, that is a problem, but we only have a Gauss rifle and 2 LRM-10s as our main weapons that produce heat, so this mech runs ice cold, even when it takes some engine crits. We've got great armor protection, 21 on the side torsos, 26 on the front legs, 31 on the rear legs, and 30 on the center torso. So this is really tough to take down. It does have case in the left torso, meaning that it will not go up in flames if it takes an ammo crit. I would still recommend just getting rid of 1 of these tons of ammo for the machine guns, maybe even both tons. Honestly, if you're down to using the machine guns, you're in dire straits. Since quad mechs cannot torso twist, this mech will have some problems if enemies start getting close, but as long as you're keeping them at that range 14, using those LRM-10s and that Gauss rifle to lay down big firepower, you shouldn't have any problems. 1537 battle value, very reasonable, and decent 4-6 movement is always nice to see. With the internal structure of an 80-tonner supporting it, this mech is very hard to take down overall. I love this big derpy turtle. Just a quick aside, we have the Goliath 3M2 as well. This is basically a small refit of the mech. It gets extra Gauss rifle ammo, which is very valuable because the 3M does have field sustainability issues with only 8 rounds of fire for the Gauss rifle. So the 3M2 definitely improves on that, which is fantastic. And we also have small pulse lasers instead of the machine guns, meaning that the mech is overall less explosive, which is fantastic. But we do pay 100 battle value for that privilege. So it comes down to whether you want to pay less and have less field sustainability, or if you want to pay a little bit more and be able to fight all game long, as well as not being quite as explosive, which is, in my opinion, pretty worth it. Alright, now let's move on to the Archer, a classic long-range support mech. The Archer has a lot of great variants in this era. Let's start out with the best battle value bang for buck on the entire list, arguably. We have the Archer 5W. It has elite battle value, 1337 27. It has an XL engine, does give it a little bit of durability problems, but we've got lots of armor, 208 armor overall, decent armor on the rear torsos as well as the front. The arms are well protected with 22, 26 on the legs. We've got 2 LRM-20s, 2 SRM-4s, and a narc. Pretty basic loadout. We have 2 tons of narc pods, so it can fire narcs every turn pretty much that it's in range for it. We've got lots of SRM-4 ammo, so you can very easily afford to take a second ton of Infernos so that you can deal with those nasty clan toads. And we have plenty of ammo, 12 rounds of fire for both of the LRM-20s. We even have case in the torsos for campaign, so you can take an ammo crit and still recover your mech. You will not become dispossessed. Next, let's look at the Archer 5 CS Comstar exclusive Battle of Two-Keyed Mech. 1609 battle value is a little bit pricey, but we have devastating firepower. 4 LRM-15s with Artemis is crazy. The armor protection is a little bit less than I would like with 184 total points, but everything has at least 20 armor on it. We still have 5 on the rear torsos, which will protect against a normal medium laser, although if clanners get in your rear, you're going to be having some problems pretty quickly with that XL engine. We have exactly enough heat sinks to fire all of our LRM-15s while running without overheating. We have a decent amount of ammo, 12 shots for all of the LRM-15s. With this 6 tons of ammo is not too shabby. One thing that's pretty interesting, we have most of the ammo in the legs, so it is very well protected with 22 points, and it's reasonably well crit padded as well. But if enemies are starting to get close, if they're starting to kick you, I would recommend using up that ammo in the legs as soon as possible. Otherwise, we probably want to use the torso ammo first, especially if you're able to find a nice one high hill and protect your legs. That's actually more important for this mech than a lot of others, and you definitely do not want elementals getting close to you, doing those leg attacks, getting those 3 armor criticals, blowing up your mech. Alright, now let's look at the 2 with standard engines. We've got the Archer 5R. This is pretty good overall battle value efficiency. Again, same armor as the Archer 5 CS, solid overall, especially now that we have a standard engine, so we don't have to worry about losing our side torso. We have 2 ER large lasers in the arms. This is a really weird, interesting decision. This mech runs very hot. You can fire either both LRM-15s and 1 laser while running, or both ER large lasers while standing still without overheating. This is an interesting idea, and I think that the way that I would preferably play this, if I could do it perfectly, is we would pop up, fire everything, Alpha Strike, and then retreat behind a hill for a turn to do some indirect fire. Or we would play it kind of like an awesome where you fire both the lasers plus an LRM-15, and then on the next turn you fire 1 ER large laser and 2 LRM-15s or something along those lines. 16 rounds of fire for each LRM-15 means that this thing has great field sustainability, but you do overpay a little bit on the battle value here just because you are carrying so many long-range weapons. Finally, we've got the Archer C. This is a clan-equipped archer. We still have the standard heat sinks, so we do have 20 of them, so this thing can actually fire all of its ER medium lasers all at once the enemy's getting close and not have to worry too much about overheating. And we have 2 LRM-20s for that long-range fire. We can mix in 1 ER medium laser very comfortably here. 2 ER medium lasers will start to pick up a little bit of heat, but then you just have to turn off a laser for a turn. 12 rounds of fire for each of the LRM-20s. Really solid overall. 1811 battle value is a little bit pricey, but we've got those 208 solid armor points, and we've got rear-mounted lasers to discourage enemy mechs from getting behind us with a solid slab of 10 armor on the rear. The left and right torsos do have that ammo. We are reasonably well crit padded with 4 criticals for the LRM-20, 1 for a heatsink, and then 2 for the ammo bins, meaning that it's only a 2 in 7 chance of getting hit there. And also keep in mind that you do have heat sinks in the legs, so if you wanted to lay down some sustained fire, standing in 1 high water would not be the worst idea in the world. However, keep in mind, if you get your torsos penetrated and you fall down in there, you will lose the mech. Okay, now we've got the Osprey. This is a little 464 medium mech, XL engine. 20 heat sinking is plenty, even when you start taking a couple of engine crits. We've got decent armor overall, wall. We've got a Gauss rifle in that right torso, meaning that it will explode as soon as that right torso is hit, so just be very careful about that. We only have 4 armor on the rear of this mech, so even a standard medium laser is going to penetrate and potentially hit that Gauss rifle and blow you up. We do have case in both torsos though, so we don't have to worry about that left torso exploding at least, as long as we're just concerned about recovering the mech. 3 medium lasers is a solid close range complement in those arms. With 16 armor on each, you shouldn't worry too much about losing the arms. 1 Gauss rifle, 1 LRM-10, decent mobility. We've got a mech that's pretty good at just getting up into a perch somewhere and laying down support fire for the entire game, able to absorb a good amount of punishment from the front, but do not let enemies get behind you. Another mech with LRMs and a Gauss rifle. We have the Excalibur, 5'8" movement profile, plenty of heat sinking. We have very low armor, but we have 70 tons of internal structure going on, so those legs are pretty hard to take off still. Same with the XL engine. You're more likely to die from engine crits than you are from getting hit in the side torso. This mech is about as close as you can get to a glass cannon while still being reasonably viable. 1637 battle value is a little pricey for what you get, but you've got an LRM-20 with Artemis and a Gauss rifle, and you can go pew with the little medium laser and discourage people from fighting you at close range. The Gauss rifle also usable in, say, range 4 with that medium laser to discourage light mechs. Case in both torsos means that it is recoverable, which is nice. And we've got 12 rounds of fire and 16 rounds of fire respectively for the LRM and the Gauss rifle. So we've got pretty good overall field sustainability. We've got decent armor. It's not great. It's not what I would expect. This is basically like a big medium mech with a Gauss rifle and an LRM-20 strapped to it. I like the Excalibur okay. I probably wouldn't choose it as my personal ride because you're going to get shot a lot because people don't like Gauss rifles, but I do like that the Gauss rifle is in the arm so that beefy 11 structure in the arm can absorb some of that Gauss rifle explosion, which is great, and you can also aim it behind you, which is also very nice. Not a fan of LRMs, are you? Well, how about taking the Galahad? 60 tons, 3.5 movement. This is very, very slow, but it's very well armored. We have 20 armor on everywhere except the legs and torsos, which are 26 and 30 respectively. Fantastic. Not paying for any of those double heat sinks. In a campaign, you can get single heat sinks a lot more easily, so that can actually be a boon in the clan invasion era. All those expensive new tech mechs are ordering in double heat sinks from far away. Meanwhile, you've got locally sourced single heat sinks. Twin Gauss rifles is all it has, and really it's all you need. Range 15, lay down that big suppressive fire. 16 rounds of fire for both Gauss rifles. They're in the arms, meaning that the structure can absorb the damage if they're crit out, and we've got 30 total structure and armor here, protecting that Gauss rifle from being destroyed. If you just want a turret tech mech, you could definitely do worse than the Galahad. 1648 battle value is very reasonable for 2 Gauss rifles with lots of armor. Let's have a look at a couple of Zeus variants that are available in this era. I don't really like the Intro Tech Zeus. It tends to be a little bit too easy to kill, but with the updated tech, we are able to up armor this baby, and it becomes a really solid long-range support unit. So the 9S, 1639 battle value, reasonably priced. We've got that standard fusion engine, very tough. 25 armor on the side torsos, 22 on the arms, 24 on the legs, 26 on the CT. You're gonna have to put a couple of Gauss rifle shots into this thing in order to pierce it. And we've got 34 heat sinking, which is just about enough to fire the ERPPC, LRM-15, and ER large laser all together. 2 medium pulse lasers at close range to defend us from pesky light mechs. One of them is rear mounted, which does save you a little bit of battle value, which is nice, and discourages enemies from getting behind you into those thin rear torsos. 6 and 8 on the rear torsos is not amazing. And we don't actually have that much ammo to explode, but because we don't have much ammo to explode, we also don't have much to spend, so only 8 shots for the LRM-15 is a little bit insufficient in my opinion. I'd like to see an extra ton of ammo in this thing, but it has exactly enough heat sinks to run and fire everything except for the close range weapons, and then you're not going to be using that LRM-15 at close range. So this is another instance where I might use this kind of like a brawler, getting close, use the energy weapons, then once you're starting to take some damage, retreat, fall back from the front lines and use that LRM-15 with the long-range weapons. Use that excellent durability to your advantage. Then we've got the 9S2, which is a quote-unquote upgrade to the 9S. Has the XL engine, brings in a little bit of durability problems, unfortunately, but we have the same armor protection, which is great, and we have a Gauss rifle. So we drop the pulse lasers, upgrade the ERPPC to a Gauss rifle, and get a second LRM-15. Really big long-range damage. We also have enough ammo for our LRMs now. We've got 16 rounds of fire for both. This thing can stay in the game pretty much firing every turn, and it has enough heat sinking to fire everything together very comfortably. Although once it starts taking those engine crits in the side torsos, it will not be able to fire everything together, so just be very careful about that. We've still got the fairly thin rear armor, so you have to worry about enemies getting behind you, especially with this mech, because you could get crit in that XL engine, or you could get crit in any of the 4 ammo bins, which is not great. But if you're just looking for a dedicated long-range sniper with decent durability at a decent price, $17.69 battle value is a little expensive, but as you've seen, Gauss rifle mechs tend to be very pricey. We've got big damage here at long range. This is really the first mech on the list that is super scary, able to lay down 40 damage at long range if it hits everything pretty consistently. That is terrifying. All right, we're really moving up in the battle value here, but this is a really deadly mech. We've got the Dragonfire 4F. XL engine brings in a bit of durability problems, but 26 armor on the side torsos makes it real tough to crack through those. Again, rear armor, a little bit thin on this mech, so be careful about letting enemies get behind you. 32 armor on the legs makes it super hard to bring down, and 24 armor on the arms, protecting the 2 main armaments. The Gauss rifle and LB-10X is very nice. Plenty of ammo for both of those, and we've got an ER large laser to back them up at that long range. The Dragonfire is a little bit more like a maybe trooper mech. We got 2 medium pulse lasers to protect it at close range as well, but can lay down very good damage at long range. And then once the enemy closes at 12, you add in that LBX as well. Really good damage overall. And the 2 medium pulse lasers will discourage those light mechs from getting close, especially with a cluster shot following up from the LB-10X. And it can pretty comfortably fire everything at close range. It's going to start picking up some heat if it fires all the close range weapons together with that ER large laser. ECM suite is also very nice, able to turn off enemy Artemis and protect yourself from those nasty Artemis cluster hits. And the right torso carrying the case for the LB-10X ammo is also great. Again, Gauss rifle on the arm, those 12 internal structure points, able to absorb some of that Gauss rifle explosion. Always good to have. Everyone knows the awesome 8Q is super solid. It's one of my most used mechs in Intro Tech era, just because 3 PPCs is great support fire. But in this era, we have the awesome 9Q, basically just a regular awesome that could take a lot less heat sinks because it has doubles and uses the saved weight to take an extra PPC. So instead of 3, we now have 4 PPCs on this immensely tough armor brick standard fusion engine. 3-5 movement, very slow, but all it needs to do is get into PPC range and start blasting. Now this mech does have 38 heat sinking, meaning that if you're firing all the PPCs, you're going to start heating up. I'd recommend a 4-4-4-3 pattern. Or if on the 4th turn you have really good shots, go up to 8 heat and then cool down. You will drop all 8 of your heat when you are firing 3 PPCs. Out of the Clan Invasion Tech Awesomes, this is definitely my favorite. It is vulnerable at close range. Those PPCs in minimum range are going to be pretty inaccurate, but just keep putting pressure on the enemy brawlers and other mechs that are a little further away, and you will not have any issues. Adding ECM to the mech also makes it a lot tougher against enemy Artemis missiles, which is fantastic because that is one of the things that it will be fighting with at long range. Then we've got the awesome 9M. Instead of being super tanky, it opts to get a little bit more movement. We've got an upgraded XL engine, still maxed out armor, still very tough. 20 on the rear torso and 10 on the side torsos means that even if enemies get behind you, they're not going to get into that XL engine very easily. Now, 40 heat sinking for 3 ER PPCs is a little bit insufficient. You're going to have to go with a 3-2-3 pattern with these, and you're going to have to fire maybe 2 of them plus all of the close range weapons once enemies close with you. but we do have close-range weapons. We have a medium pulse laser, a small pulse laser, and 2 streak 2s, meaning that if enemies try to close with this version of the Awesome, they will be in for a nasty close-range surprise. Unlike its cousin, the Awesome 9 MA, which still can't fire all of its PPCs together, but comes with an ECM suite to protect itself against Artemis, and a command console. This is actually extremely important if you want to have a command mech for that +2 initiative in your force, and you definitely do. The Awesome 9 MA is not a bad one. I think that some of the Battle Masters are probably better in this role in this era, just because they don't have the overheating problems that this one does. But yeah, 3-2-3 or 3-3-2-3 firing pattern is what you're going to want with this. If you fire all of the PPCs twice in a row, you'll get to 10 heat, which is going to inflict a penalty on your firing next turn, but then you just fire 2 and you drop 10 heat. So similar to the Awesome 9Q, except it just can't keep the barrage up quite as long. Okay, now we're starting to really get up there in the battle value. 2003 battle value for the Sunder OA. This has incredibly good armor protection, 30 on the arms, 28 on the torsos, 10 and 12 on the rear torsos respectively is fantastic, 41 on the CT and 33 on the legs. This mech is not going anywhere, even with that XL engine. We have a Gauss rifle and an ERPPC backed up by 3 LRM-5s. We have enough LRM ammo that you could afford to take 1 utility ton and lay down some really weak mines maybe. And we have more than enough Gauss rifle ammo, 16 shots for that bad boy. Again, we're absorbing some of that Gauss explosion with the big structure in the arms, which is great. And we have 30 heat sinking, so we can fire everything together, no problem. And with 4-6 movement for a 90 tonner, that's not too bad. You can get into a sniper's perch relatively easily with that and just lay down big long range fire, 2 big hole punchers, and then follow that up with a couple LRM-5s for crit seeking is gonna be real nice. This is a scary mech. You do pay a pretty big battle value premium for it though, and no case in the right torso is a detriment for any campaign player. All right, let's creep up in the tonnage a little bit more. We've got the 95-ton Nightstar. This is a big boy, all right. The Nightstar 9J is the one that everybody knows, with the twin Gauss rifles and the ERPPC, 2 medium pulse lasers in the arms to back those up, and a small laser in the head. Kind of superfluous, but it is what it is. We've got those 95-ton arms, again, absorbing that Gauss rifle explosion. Great stuff. And it's not helpless at close range, which is great. It's got good long-range firepower. 40 damage at long range is terrifying. Plenty of heat sinking to fire everything, no problems whatsoever. And we've got maxed out armor on a 95-tonner. That's disgusting. 50 armor on the center torso. 40 on the legs, 32 on the arms and torsos. That is absolutely just ridiculous. So hard to kill. But that 3-5 movement does make me a little bit iffy on it. It's very slow. I mean, it's an assault mech, it's gonna be slow. But we've got the Nightstar 9FC to show you what can be if you decide to go with a little bit of a bigger engine in this 95-ton monstrosity. And we've got a bit more of a focus on mid and close range. We've got 3 medium lasers. So these medium pulse lasers are basically to discourage light mechs from getting close. These medium lasers are more to do damage at close range. And with those medium lasers, we have the LB-10X autocannons. These are some of the best weapons in the game. Crit seeking, hole punching, they can do it all. Decent range, 12 medium range, and then 1 ERPPC at that long range to back it up. This mech is solid, plenty of heat sinks to fire everything, no problems there. And we've got a left torso bomb, unfortunately. That is kind of like the big L that this mech takes. It has way too much ammo in the torsos. It needs it because it has 2 LB-10X autocannons, but man, that is a lot of ammo. It will just explode and die if it gets hit in that left torso. But the mech will be recoverable, you won't be dispossessed, and it's got a very reasonable price tag. Under 2,000 battle value for this much firepower and this much armor is a great deal. The big boys are here. Let's talk about some 100-ton monstrosities that are going to bring the pain to your enemies. We have the King Crab 001. 2,200 battle value is pretty expensive. And we have single heat sinks? I mean, you put an XL engine in there, you couldn't spring for the doubles, guys? Come on, really? But incredible armor protection. We've got 2 Gauss rifles and an LRM-15 for the long-range punch, and then we've got a large pulse laser and 2 streak 2s at close range. Now, on average, you're probably going to miss with one of these streaks, right? So that actually means that 13 heat sinking is totally fine for the close range complement. And if we're talking like range 4 or 5, you can pretty easily mix in those Gauss rifles. You're going to start picking up a little bit of heat, but this thing can shed it no problem. Just turn off the large pulse laser for a turn. Lots of ammo, plenty of ammo for the Gauss rifles, not enough ammo for that LRM-15. That is kind of one of the biggest problems with this mech, which kind of indicates to me that it wants to close to that like range 6 or whatever and use those Gauss rifles, use those streaks, and use that large pulse laser and deal some big damage. And then maybe once things have heated up too much, the crab's taken too much damage, it can retreat, it can go and scuttle under a rock somewhere and hide, fire off those Gauss rifles and LRM-15 at long range. Case in both torsos is very nice, even with that XL engine. If you have a 100-ton mech, you don't want to be dispossessed of it, so that is always solid. King Crab 001, pretty solid overall. Love me a big old crabby boy. The biggest of boys, the Atlas, and specifically the Atlas II in this instance. We have a standard fusion engine on a 100-ton mech. This thing is not going anywhere. You are not killing the Atlas without a couple of assault mechs firing at it for 3 or 4 turns. We have a Gauss rifle, an ERPPC, and an LRM-20. Great long-range firepower. Plenty of ammo for all of this stuff. The LRM-20, 12 rounds of fire. The Gauss rifle has 16. Case in the left and right torsos means that even if you crit that ammo out, it's still not going to kill the mech. You still have that 47 CT armor to chew through. 1 SRM-6 and 2 medium pulse lasers at close range gives this mech a little bit of something to scare off light mechs. And with 26 heat sinking, it can very easily fire all of the long range weapons together. And then it just has to turn off that LRM-20 at close range, and it can fire all of the lasers, SRMs, Gauss rifle, and ERPPC together. No problem. This mech is so powerful. This is what I want from an assault mech. It is expensive. 2340 battle value is not joking around, and you're probably going to want to pay that 2574 for the 4 piloting value, because if you don't, this mech is just going to fall over constantly, because it's not going to have much TMM, it's going to get shot a lot, it's going to take piles and piles of damage, because your enemy knows that the only way that they're going to kill this is by focus firing it with everything that they have for a couple of turns. So take the 4 piloting, eat the battle value cost. Nearly 2600 is probably what this is going to end up costing you, but I say it's pretty worth it. There's not really many good standard 75-ton Marauders, but the Marauder 2, on the other hand, has some very nice variants. We've got the 5A, 2058 battle value. Quite cheap, honestly, for what you get. It's a 100-ton mech, nearly maxed armor. The XL engine is a bit of a problem, and we have 29 single heat sinks again. They couldn't spring for doubles. They had to use singles, even though they used an XL engine. That seems really silly to me, but it is what it is. We've got solid armor overall, and we have 2 ERPPCs and an LB-10X with 2 medium lasers to back it up, but we've got the case in the wrong torso. This is one of the weirdest things that I've ever seen in this game. The case is in the right torso, the ammo is in the left. That is a very weird mistake to make. So if this mech gets hit in the ammo bins, it will explode. Luckily, we have 11 armor on the rear torsos and 31 on the front, so it's not that likely to get punched through and blown up. It has some heat problems. 29 heat sinking is not enough to fire both of those ERPPCs and the LB-10X together without overheating. So you're gonna have to turn off one of those ERPPCs every few turns or so. I would maybe do a 3-1-3 type of pattern, fire everything 3 times, and then turn off one of the ERPPCs, and then fire everything again the turn after that. On the other hand, we have the Marauder 2, uses double heat sinks, does not use an XL engine. So the double heat sinks for this mech went to this mech, and the XL engine for this mech went to this mech. Anyways, we still got great armor, 45 on the front, 41 on the legs, 34 on the arms, and 31 on the side torsos is really strong. This mech has enough heat sinks for its weapons. We've got 2 ERPPCs and a Gauss rifle instead of the LB-10X autocannon. Plenty of ammo for the Gauss rifle, and because we don't have that XL engine, and we have pretty beefy side torso structure, we're not as worried about the Gauss rifle getting exploded. Of course, it will still be a problem. You'll lose that PPC and medium laser at the same time, but 353 movement on both of these mechs is really nice. 3 jump is really valuable on a big slow unit because it means that you can really more easily navigate hills and trees, which if they're in your way and you can't avoid them and you need to get to the front of the forest or need to get on top of that hill so that you can have a good sniper's perch, the jump jets are going to be super useful. So even though this costs way more than the Atlas, the 5B might be a better take overall than the Atlas 2, just because it can jump into position. But that's going to depend on the map. On a big flat open map, the Atlas is definitely going to be a lot better. But on a hilly map with lots of trees, the 3 jump jets are going to be extremely versatile and useful. So look at what map sets you're going to be using in your tournament or in your game and figure out which one is going to be better, because these both bring devastating long-range firepower. The Atlas does defend itself at close range a little bit better with the pulse lasers, but 35 damage at long range, pretty solid stuff overall from the Marauder 5B. Are there any mechs that you think should have been on this list that are not? Let me know in the comments. Really love to hear from you guys. Also love to hear if you learned something new, which is always great. I certainly discovered a couple of new mechs that I like a lot here. One of my new favorites is definitely the Archer 5W. This is a solid mech. Great long-range firepower, decent close range. We've got the Narc to support other units. I think the 5W, with its cheap battle value price of $1337, is probably my favorite mech on this list overall. Which one was yours? Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Really helps out the channel. Thank you so much for watching, Mech Warriors, and have a great day.